Hello, my name is Ruby and welcome back to the Fifth Wall Podcast. This week I spoke to guest Philip McGuinness, an actor known for shows such as ITV's Go Ahead and the BBC's The Responder. If you'd like to stay up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on social media at Fifth Wall Pod or subscribe wherever you're listening to get the latest episodes directly to your feed. Thanks and enjoy this week's episode. So, did you originally intend to work as an actor?
Originally, I wanted to be a train driver when I was a kid. I live over the road from a train station, so I was obsessed with trains when I was a kid. So not originally. I was a very, very shy boy. I was in primary school. We did like a year six leavers play.
Yeah.
I was a tree. So I think I had one line. It shows how shy I was. But then I got to secondary school, and the drama teacher, who is still there now, actually is amazing. And she transformed everything for me. So then I started doing drama at high school, and I just sort of fell in love with it, really. But then I ended up changing to go to be trained to be a nurse. I saw a total knee replacement, which was something like it was out of Terminator. The poor guy was on the bed, having the operation. I mean, we're talking like hammer, chisel, sort of knocking him a new knee into place. And they had to stop the surgery to get me a chair to sit down. I was like, mate, I am so sorry. He was like, are you okay? I was like, him mid with his knee half open. So at that point, I thought, maybe nursing's not the right, because I've got a massive phobia of blood. That probably not the right choice for me. So then I did a play, a community play. My mum came in with an advertisement for a community play at the Everyman, called Spirit to the Stone, which was based on Kirby. And then I did that, and I was like, right, I need to change. And so I managed to, loads of little pieces sort of came into place of connections, sort of, the director knew the head of drama at Edge Hill, and I was already at Edge Hill, so I was able to get an interview to be able to swap over quite late. So yeah, if I wouldn't have had that opportunity, who knows what would have happened. So yes and no.
My next question was going to be what made you change career path, but that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, well,
But
it was, I think yeah, when I was younger, definitely in secondary school, and just as I'd sort of left, I would say to everybody, I want to be an actor. And my friend went to an interview at sixth form college. I just sort of went with him, and I went to sit down with him so he could chat to the tutor. And he said to me, oh, what do you want to do? I was like, oh, I want to be an actor. He's like, oh, so what are you doing? I was like, oh, well, I'm going to pursue a career in nursing, and then, I'll have it as behind me, and then I'll be able to pursue it. And he said to me, if you have something to fall back on, you will do. And at that point, I just remember thinking maybe he's sort of got a bit of a point here. So yeah, so combined with the total knee operation, maybe this is something that I'm meant to pursue, rather than, which is an amazing career, nursing. Obviously, I used to care for my nan, so that's where all that sort of care in nature came from.
yeah.
But I just had a sense that it wasn't what I was supposed to do.
What was sort of the first thing that you saw sort of made you want to be an actor?
I mean, I think I'd seen little tiny bits of Christopher Eccleston in Cracker, sort of just in the background. I was in year eight, I think I was in year eight. And we did like a little drama class in English. And it was, okay, set some chairs up. You're in a car crash, the kids thinking, I can sort of do this. At the end, the drama teachers, the English teacher was like, you need to go and try out for the school play. Started obviously doing the drama classes from year seven. And I distinctly remember Christopher Eccleston again in Let Him Have It. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Story of Derek Bentley.
I think I've only seen him in Doctor Who and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, honestly, this was the thing that sort of spiraled for me, the notion of wanting to be an actor. He is incredible in it. So I would definitely recommend watch that, check it out. Then after that, I just sort of followed his career, watched him in Revenge's Tragedy, obviously Hillsborough, but then I only watched Doctor Who because of him. And then since then, I remember saying to my mate, I want to be the Doctor after watching Rose. And so I've just, anything that he's in, I'm like straight up, it's like, yeah, I'll watch that. I just think he's an incredible actor.
Has that changed or has that stayed sort of the same? Because I know some people, they'll watch different sort of things as they get into the career. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I think I got into a real strong sense of trying to watch directing wise everything sort of Christopher Nolan did. Um, I'm a massive Batman fan, so when Christian Bale was cast as Batman, I was straight in. I remember watching Batman Begins, and then again, it was the obsession, sort of watching everything that Christopher Nolan did and Christian Bale did. So I think he's just an incredible actor. His intensity, again, DiCaprio, Tom Hardy. I think Andrew Garfield's a fantastic actor. So I think everything that they do, I sort of try and watch little snippets of everything and try and think, oh, what worked really well there? What could I try maybe and see if it works for me? Obviously, what somebody else does, not that I would be anywhere near those levels, but what somebody else does might not work for you. I definitely think those actors are some of the people that I sort of look up to and watch as much as I can, really.
Talking about sort of Batman and stuff, weren't you involved with the 2022 one that was filmed
Mm,
around Liverpool?
yeah, it was. I, I I advise everybody to do this, and some people might think it's a bit delusional, but I'm a big fan of manifestation and believing that it exists before it exists. And I would tell everybody, I want to be an actor. I'm going to create my career around it. And I'm like, yeah, all right, Phil. So I actually created a vision board, and probably half the things on my vision board I've either directly or indirectly achieved. Um, I know there was a connection with The Hobbit on there, like Peter Jackson, The Hobbit, and then obviously worked with Martin. Um, with Batman, I had the Batman logo on my my vision board, and then when I heard they were making the Batman, it was during lockdown, I think it was, and I was just going to Switzerland to film a commercial, and just before I got on the plane, I thought I knew that they'd stopped because of obviously because of COVID, and I thought I'm just going to send an email to the casting director, and then literally within 2 days, 3 days, I had a message saying, "Oh my God, you got an audition." I've been obsessed with Batman since I've been a young boy, played all the games, obsessed with the films, dressed up as Batman. I remember going to see The Dark Knight in IMAX in Manchester and just being blown away. And then not the next iteration of Batman, but the one after that, I was a super small part in. But yeah, I'm a big believer in manifestation. So I think if you don't believe that you can do something, then nobody else is going to believe that you can do it either. I thought Robert Pattinson was fantastic as well. He's another actor I think who makes really interesting choices, and I just think he's a fantastic actor. So he wasn't there though on my bit. It was a stunt double, but Zoe Kravitz was. So I was gutted I didn't get to meet him, but yeah, I think he's a fantastic and a brilliant Batman. It was about 2 weeks before they wrapped. They said, "Oh, do you want to come down to London?" And where we were staying, it was almost like Wayne Manor. So it was very surreal. Even though it was filming in Liverpool, I went down to London to film my bit. But yeah, it was fantastic. It was incredible. And meeting Matt Reeves, wow, what a director.
So what sort of advice would you have for people who are starting out in acting, especially from Liverpool or
I think being from Liverpool has had its challenges for me because I think, unfortunately, some people don't seem to like the accent. I think it's slightly changing again now. Obviously, we had like the Beatles, Cilla Black, the whole Mersey beat, it exploded and everybody was in love with Liverpool. And then it's people decided that they didn't sort of want to be associated with Liverpool.
yeah,
And obviously, the tragedy of Hillsborough and obviously all the lies that were told, they sort of wanted to demonize people from Liverpool. So every now and again, I would go, particularly when I was younger, or jokes about thieving and all rubbish when
yeah.
you come to Liverpool and people say, "Oh my God, Liverpool's such a great city" after they've been. But I was a bit scared to come beforehand. Um, so I think if you're from Liverpool, you might face some challenges, and it's how you can be resilient enough to accept them. Saying that, I do feel as though there is more of a shift towards regional work now, again, which is fantastic. You've obviously got amazing people from Liverpool, Stephen Graham, obviously Jodie Comer, are two uh, beacons of light from modern times who are absolutely doing fantastic things for Liverpool. Obviously, Leanne Best, obviously the McGanns, just to name a few, Sean Evans, who's fantastic, along with a whole host of new Liverpool talent that are coming through. And so I think in a couple of years, 10 years time, it's Liverpool hopefully will be continuing to boom for work, especially with the new buildings that are being built, the big film studios. So I would say you've got to be a bit resilient, and I would say network. There's lots of great theatre that happens in Liverpool, like the Royal Court, obviously the Everyman Playhouse. But I think things are starting to look really great again for Liverpool, because people want to see, people who look like them.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got great shows coming out of Liverpool now. So I'd say be resilient, be brave, believe that, if it's something that you're really passionate about and you think, I don't want to do anything else, you've got to believe in yourself first and foremost. Seek opportunities, network with people. That's something that stood out at me when I was at university. I believe that all the people I was working with, so I was going over to the film and media studies building when nobody else was, going, can I be in your student films? And they'd often say, oh, we don't really have much of a connection with performing arts. I just could not fathom that because the two go hand in hand. So I'd definitely say network, um, other people's skills are going to complement yours, and support other people as well. You're not in competition with anybody else. You're only ever in competition with yourself,
Yeah.
and trust your instincts. Sometimes you'll know if something feels right for you. And probably the final thing I would say is don't be blind to other avenues. You might just go, I just want to do this, but then the door could open towards your right and you've not maybe looked at it because you're so focused on it. Sometimes that can be great, but I would say sometimes just be aware of where other opportunities could lead.
So, would you say that the industry's sort of changed since you started out?
Obviously, self-tapes now for actors are fantastic. Well, I think they're fantastic. Some people obviously still prefer to be in the room, which obviously has its advantages because you get to gauge how something goes down in the moment, and you get a chance to get feedback and try something again in a different way. But I think particularly being from Liverpool, if the audition is in London and you were fortunate enough to get two auditions in a week that are not on the same day, you'd have to pay to go to London twice. Whereas if you can do a self-tape, you could work all day and then do it in the night. Or if you've got childcare or family commitments or other commitments, you can make everything work because you can do it in your own time. So I think that's been a fantastic addition. Um, it gives you a chance, I think, to reflect on what you've done, watch it back. I mean, that's what helps me. It might not help everybody else. Watch it back and say, okay, what do I think worked well? What could I change? And it helps me to relax a little bit more, rather than knowing, oh my God, I've got like 10 minutes in a room to try and do my best. And so I think that's been a fantastic addition, just because not everybody can afford to sort of go to London. On the train, it's like £109.
Yeah.
Plus, you won't be able to work for the day. And then you've got to have food and you might have to sort out, whatever else needs sorting out in your life to make that happen. I definitely think there's been more of a push for inclusivity, which you were saying about, we're seeing more Liverpool accents on television, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And you can probably tell I'm very passionate about Liverpool, but I don't think it's just Liverpool. You want to see accents from all around the country and different countries. Chorley, Edinburgh, Dundee, Llangollen, wherever. So people who are from those areas that desperately want to be performers, directors, get the chance to hear people who are like them on television, I think is that's something that I'm really passionate about because I know how much adversity I have had because of my accent, and I know other people from Liverpool have had as well. And I'm sure it's not just us, I'm sure it's lots of other places in the country as well. So I think those two things in particular I've noticed have been a big change. Plus, with Media City moving, obviously being built in Manchester, I was sort of coming up around the time that that just happened. So I was sort of, I remember being there thinking, okay, this might not benefit me now, but in 5 to 10 years' time, I might be ready to make use of these fantastic opportunities.
What do you think the next sort of few years will look like in terms of, do you think people will rely more on the internet?
I'm possibly one of the people that is a big advocate of social media used what I think in the right way. I know for myself, what everybody else would be the traditional route with everything in their life. I've always been very left field, sort of. I would go in different ways to achieve my target. And it's something that I've always done in my life. So I definitely think trying to, you could go on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok's massive now, and find somebody who is absolutely hilarious, and before you know, they've been cast in something else. I think eventually that could be a possibility because of how many people are making content. I think it's great because people are learning how to edit. They're learning how to put maybe filters on the things, which is, sort of a very minor color grading in a way by placing a filter on something. They're learning how to tell stories, and some of these performances that I see, oh my God, might be a bit better than me. I think it's fantastic, and I'm a big fan of creating your own work, um, and pushing things out yourself, making things happen for yourself. So I think that is a possibility that more people will get cast, and good for them. I think it's brilliant.
Do you think it's sort of, I know some people say it's more difficult that there is so many people online now, because obviously now that everyone's got sort of access, or most people have sort of got access to social media, it's more difficult to stand out.
That's a good question. Yeah, because I mean, I'm not somebody who's got a massive social media following. I just like to post out about things that are important to me. Um, I know obviously with Gwed, the fan base just exploded on TikTok and Instagram quite quickly for the Gwed page. I would just say if you're posting things that are authentic to you, if it's something that you think I'd like to watch that, and you're not trying to chase what you think other people necessarily want, that would be more authentic to you. I think you can only be you, and I can only be me. We could both read something out and read it in totally different ways. So, celebrate who you are, focus on what interests you, what seems genuine to you, and what you think is good. And I suppose listen to people who you value their opinion. People will be very keen to give you opinions on everything, not necessarily want to do any of the work to attempt to do anything themselves. Or sometimes people might not want to congratulate you, even if you have done a good job, but sometimes they'll want to criticize you quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say make something that is authentic to you, and be prepared that not everybody will want to celebrate it or like it. And that's okay, because, we've all got different tastes, and, there's a room at the table for everyone.
You could recast any film or TV show, but the cast has to be replaced by the cast of the Muppets. Which one would it be and why?
Oh, wow. One of my favorite films has all well since I've been about 13 has been The Lord of the Rings. I say it's one film. For me, it's one film because it's a continuation. You watch, if you're a hardcore fan, you watch the extended editions back to back. So I think that'd be pretty cool to see the Muppets running around Middle Earth. Um, I did watch Bram Stoker's Dracula on Halloween night, so that could also be an interesting, a bit like when they did A Christmas Carol and Michael Caine's playing it so serious. I think that would be a really interesting choice. But definitely, who wouldn't want to see Kermit as Frodo?
That's all for this week's episode of the Fifth Wall Podcast. Thanks again to this week's guest, Philip McGuinness, and if you'd like to stay up to date with the podcast on social media, you can follow us at Fifth Wall Pod. Thanks for listening.